community organizations and they told them what the problem was. And once the people understood what the problem was, they said, we will support you. And I remember at that time we all boycotted Roundtree chocolates. We refused to buy chocolates made by that factory. And that is what brought them to the negotiating table with the workers. So workers are not on their own. They are part of a community. Students are part of a community. And students can help workers as well. And communities can help students. So we all have to come together. But we can only come together if we understand and know what the problem is. Not if we don't understand the problem and people take impulsive actions. Even our liberation, it was won because we had international support. We had, the solidarity movement, international solidarity movement, that was also powerful and that boycotted South African goods, that boycotted South Africa, and that is one of the things, not the only things. You know the 4 pillars of our struggle. I don't have to tell you, right? Do you know what are the 4 pillars of our struggle? No. Should I tell you? Okay. We had the mass democratic struggle in the country, which was non-violent struggle, which was a very powerful movement in the country, the mass democratic struggle together with UDF and so on, all the people coming together as oppressed people in this country. That was one leg of the struggle. To support that was the international solidarity, which was again a non-violent movement comprising of people all over the world. There were solidarity organizations in almost every country of the world who supported the mass democratic movement and who supported the struggle for freedom, the liberation movement. Then there was also the army. Those people who opted for a solution where they had to use arms. Now, they were fighting on the borders of South Africa and so on. And that was also part of one of the legs of our struggle. And then there was the underground movement that also came in and defended our communities. When our communities were being harassed by the special branch, by the police, and you would have seen, I think many of you saw the film of the Cradock, and you talked about the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. Well, in many cases, people defended our communities from being harassed by those kinds of actions. And that was the 4th leg of the struggle. So we had 4 pillars of our struggle. And one of the strong pillars of the struggle was that international solidarity. So, without that kind of solidarity, we can't win. And I would suggest that students should think about that they need to get that solidarity from parents, from communities, and from lecturers as well. And then if you go to the Vice Chancellor, he will come to the table.
Question at the back, yes.
And ask them not to use this opportunity for other means, but to edify each other intellectually. I would first like to quote Tata Tutu when he said that there is no need to raise your voice. Just improve your argument. Lest we leave this conference under the impression that there is an escalating concern of violence within student ranks. it's just a minority. It's a minority. I used the same machines and I took less than 2 hours. Violence is never an option. It is never an option. Maybe, just maybe, if it be necessary at all, violence could be justified to drive away violent perpetrators. The things that could cause students amongst us, me involved, to be, I think, to be violent, even though I cannot justify it, it would be the concerns about student loans and catering and residence issues. If you consider those things, there is no reason to raise any weapon and beat anyone else or to burn any cafeteria at all. If you look at our society, it would be concerns about service delivery, social support and houses and so forth. There is no reason to burn any tile. There is no reason to burn any building, government building. Violence is never justified. Violence is for cowards, those who fear to engage. I dare say that again. As I conclude, amongst us as students, there are those who shout and make the loudest noise. And they are justified because they are concerned of certain issues, and we all support them. However, I stand amongst those, the majority, that will never allow violence in this campus. Thank you.
My concern is that of us in this country continuing identifying one another in terms of race. People still talk about Indians, coloreds, blacks, whites. Here. I've read Gandhi. He wanted a non-racist South Africa. I've read Biko. And the black of Biko doesn't mean pigmentation. That's why Chinese, Indians, and so-called coloreds were included in that term. Srini Mutli, Seth Gupas were leaders in the black consciousness movement. And they never saw themselves as Indians. I've read Sobukwe. Sobukwe said we shall move away from defining African in terms of history. Those that are Africans are those that are having allegiance and loyalty to Africa. We're 16 years in our liberation. We're still talking about color, color, color. Yeah. When are we going to achieve what Gandhi wanted? A colorless society. A non-racist, not a multi-racial. We're going to talk more, me and you, because you're also involved in what we call Ubuntu. You mentioned Ubuntu here. I was happy that you came down here. A lot of people think like me, but they don't want to say these things. They are comfortable in their zones. When they go to Mill Park, they want to be white. When they go to Gavindale, they like to be colored. When they get to Sweden, they say those colored are living better than us Bantus. You know, and then those Indians will go and shop in Green Acres. They've got shops in Costin. They won't buy from their own shops. You can't have Indians in Africa and Indians in India. You can't. I mean, that is a fact. I've been to India. There are people with hair like this, and they are Indians because they are creation of India. You can't have Indians there and Indians there. So Biko said we need now to come together. That's what also Biko said. 4 days Biko died. He died in 2012. It's nice that you came. We need just to be a little honest and move away from these terms which are making us comfortable You get the point? Zulu is the white. What is it? When you look at the Freedom Charter, it said the land belongs to all who live in it. Now Mandela will say white and black. Why emphasize on white and black? I'm not going to talk long here. Thank you for giving me the ear. We're going to meet again. I thank you.
We'd really like to thank you on your educational speech that you gave us. But then what I want to know is, you are telling us how much we should be non-violent. But I think now the problem is, I think we need an alternative to that, because I remember reading a book by Benjamin Progrand on Robert Sobukwe, and he was telling us on what happened on the 21st of March 1916. There they organized a non-violent strike, whereby Sobukwe even said, if ever the security police come to you guys, whatever they do, don't throw stones, don't fight, don't retaliate. If they tell you to go back, go back. But then the purpose of the strike was to get rid of the pass laws. So then what happened was, okay, the strike was supposed to be non-violent, but it erupted into the Sharpeville massacre, the Langa massacre, and many other people died because of that. But the decision was that black people that day were not supposed to fight. We are not supposed to be violent in any way, whatever the people did to us. But then now again, because we're told not to be violent. Again, like now, my colleague there, Mr. Mokhali, was talking about like the machines and the food, everything. But then I know for a fact I was there. Beginning of this year, there was a non-violent demonstration fighting against the high food prices. Nothing happened. And then we even decided that, okay, what we're going to do, non-violently so, we're going to go and boycott the dining hall. We close it, no one goes in, no one buys. So until they decide to drop down the food prices. But I tell you, even today, the prices are still ridiculously high. But then the thing is, the authorities know that, okay, we because we're here to study, we can go to the dining hall and close it for don't last more than 2 weeks, because we also have to eat. You see, and then so all this, seriously, so all this is actually died in vain. So now I'd like to know, okay, we tried our best not to be non-violent, but then now non-violence is not working for us anymore. So I'd like to know an alternative, because if violence is not an alternative, then what is an alternative to that? Because seemingly non-violence for us is not working. And the authorities are actually too far from us, because we cry, we scream, we do everything, but they don't hear us because they're too far from us. So we actually get very, very frustrated, which actually leads up to this violence that we so really don't want.
I'm glad to see that you run an Ubuntu Foundation. And I think, one of the things that people like Steve Biko and others talked about is that we have to be proud of what we've produced in this country, of who we are, and in this country in particular, as South Africans. And one of the things that is local is Ubuntu. It's a philosophy that grew here. It didn't inherit it from the West, not from the East, not from any other country. It's our own. And I believe that there's a similar word in many other African countries, particularly, which means the same thing as Ubuntu. And so it is an African concept. And if we, regard ourselves, we should be proudly African and South African. And to do that, I think we need to take this concept forward. And if all of us begin to understand the concept and practice it, what a beautiful world we'll create. I think it's a very important concept, and I'd gladly work with you, sir. Um,